What's up, guys? Welcome back to Flippin' the Script Fishing. I'm back here in my backyard again. I want to show you something. I got something rigged up because I want to show you how to properly hook set, but I also want to show you some of the things that come into play when you're trying to get a good hook set. So, all right, so what I got here, got my fishing rod, okay? Now, I have my line going all the way down there. You can see the red bag set on it. Okay, that's tied on the middle of my line. So I got down here, my line going. Okay, and I have a little red bag tied on the line, the middle of the line, okay? Halfway point. Okay, then I got this little contraption set up. I know it's awesome. Got 2 chairs with a metal bar. And I got my, we gotta name this fish. These are my fish. Okay, I got tied onto the fish, so it's over the bar. Comes down here, so then when I pull on the line, you should see that fish move. If you get a good hook set, then you'll see the fish move. So I want to illustrate how the line stretch, slacken the line, and the type of line. I want to illustrate how it affects your hook set. So these are all things you need to take into consideration when you're out fishing and if you want to get a good hook on a fish. So keep those in mind while I illustrate each of these lines, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to illustrate is when you have a hook set when they're slacking the line. So when you don't reel down all this and pick up all the slack, what kind of pressure you're getting on the fish, and if you're actually going to get a hook in that fish at all. So that's going to be the first thing I demonstrate here. So the first thing I'm going to demonstrate is a hook set when you have a lot of slack in your line with monofilament. As you can see, I moved the fish, but not very much. So now I'm going to reel in the slack and I'm going to set the hook, and you'll see the difference in the movement of the fish. Makes a big difference. All right, now same test with fluorocarbon. Hook set with slack in the line first. As you can see, that was pretty good. Now fluorocarbon with the slack reeled in. You should be able to see the bag move just before I set the hook. Reel the slack in. As you can see, the fish moved quite a bit. Alright, now I'm going to demonstrate using braided line. Now it has a lot less stretch, so probably shouldn't need much of a hook set, but we'll see. This is with slack in the line. As you can see, that's even with slack in the line, that fish went flying. Alright, now I'm going to demonstrate with braid with no slack in the line, when you reel up the slack and go to set the hook. Obviously with slack it went flying, so I'm anticipating it going pretty far. Now the clip came off the fish, so that's actually a pretty good lesson. When you got braided line, you need to take that into consideration when you're setting your hook. That clip could very easily be the hook. Alright, now the first thing I want to do when I get a bite is reel up all the slack. Okay, I want to point my rod toward the fish, toward where I'm getting that bite. Okay, I like to put my finger on that line just to make sure I'm getting a bite and it's not just a rock or something like that. But I reel in the slack, and when I realize it is a bite, as you can see, my rod's almost pointed straight out toward that fish. I would reel down my line until I feel that fish. As you can see, that fish is moving now. So once I feel that fish, then I set that hook. And I'm going to put the butt of my rod in my belly, and I'm going to rear back like this. Okay, so obviously a lot harder than that. So I would reel in the slack and I'd jack it like this. That way I'm getting the full extension of this rod all the way. I see people doing this whole thing and they're not getting the power of that rod behind that hook set. Okay, so that's where I'm utilizing my rod to get the power of that hook set. So put the rod butt here in my belly and I'm gonna jack up like that. Okay. With open face spinning gear, the idea is exactly the same. Okay, I reel up that slack, I point my rod tip toward that fish or where I'm getting the bite, butt of the rod in my belly, and I just bring those arms. Okay, I bring those arms to my chest. Okay, so when that fish is on there, of course this rod will bow over and I'll get all the pressure, I'll get all the strength of my rod in that hook set. Alright, so 3 things to remember when you're going to set that hook. 1, pick up all that slack. 2, what type of line am I using? And 3, how much line do I have out there? So all those things you need to think about very quickly for when you go to set that hook. So make sure you get a good hook in there, but don't overpower that fish. Another important thing to remember is also what I'm fishing. Treble hooks as opposed to one solid hook, weed guards, those types of things. What do I have to go through to get that hook into that fish's mouth? If I have bare hooks, then I can really just lean into it and it will go into that fish's mouth much better than if I have a weed guard to go through or plastic lure or something like that. So also keep those in mind. Alright, now most of this video has been about hook sets for a single hook on a plastic. If you have a treble hook bait on your line, you just really need to lean into it and let that rod load up and let the rod do the job. You don't want to do a quick jerk hook set because you're going to rip that lure out of that fish's mouth. So and the hooks on treble hooks are much smaller, so that's something to keep in mind. It's very important. A quick jerk hook set with one single hook. If you got treble hooks, just kind of lean into it and let the rod load up and do the job. Alright guys, now I hope that illustration demonstrated to you the importance of not only reeling up that slack before the hook set, but also considering the type of line you're using. It makes a big difference in the power of that hook set. Monofilament stretches so much that it's hard to get a good hook set, especially if you have any slack in your line. Fluorocarbon seems to be a good happy medium, is a little bit more forgiving. Braided line, you can overpower that hook set very easily, so you have to be mindful of that. Also, if you have a tendency to miss those hook sets on a regular basis, that braided line can really help out to pick up any inefficiencies you have in that hook set. So braided line is really good for small children. It's also really good for long casts. You know, if I have 50 yards out there, I can contact that fish with a hook set much more easily than if I have braided or monofilament. If I have monofilament and I have a long cast, it's gonna be very difficult for me to get a good hook set in there, especially considering any slack I have in my line due to vegetation or depth of the water, since monofilament floats. All those things that you need to keep in mind when you're going to set that hook. So, like I said, I hope that demonstrates and illustrates that point, and hope that helps you out on the water. So, till next time, tight lines, guys.